season was about to meet its perilous demise.
Yeah.
You turned it on, you fired it up, you feathered the throttle, which is something Scoot people say. But I feel like it's with all of those people who it seems like they just live and breathe the political climate of today.
They're joyless.
And that's why we present to you, how do you cut your sandwich?
I mean, why argue to divide a nation when you can argue about dividing a sandwich? Could have been in the military.
Yeah.
Could have just learned how to.
Sure.
Could have been a Boy Scout.
Loser.
I was a Boy Scout.
Idiot.
Not backing down, huh?
Looking in your face, calling me an idiot.
Just mashing that gas pedal down.
I just can't get over the fact you got that stupid scarf around your neck.
Yeah, it's called a neckerchief. Just a brutal attack on Boy Scouts nationwide.
Steve, I got to tell you, I listened. We were outside on the deck last week, right? So
doing deckcast.
Doing deckcast. I didn't have any timestamp.
The short-lived deckcast.
Yeah, the weather defeated us after episode 1 of deckcast, but I didn't have a chance to put any timestamps down. So when that happens, it makes what I do a tiny bit more difficult, and that I really just jump around.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of remember the conversations we were having.
Because not surprisingly, a lot of what we do is not organized in any way. Right. We go from one to the next, to the next, to the next.
Yep.
Which is why we constantly have to reset when we say, but we digress.
Yeah. You and I, and to expound on that, you and I had spent maybe 6 minutes before opening the microphones here this morning. All of that spent on talking about the lounge we're in.
Yeah, we're in the lab.
We are
the new lab.
We are in Steve's audio lab today. But while I was jumping around trying to find stuff for the intro, I mentioned it a few times on the episode last week. Boy, I was in a certain type of way. I took out motorcyclists. I told them to go walk off a cliff.
Okay.
I took out...
Not even ride off a cliff. They had to park their bikes.
Yep.
And then start walking.
Yep, and then walk like lemmings.
Okay.
And then I took out Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned. And there was one more that I heard that I took out, and I eventually commented to myself that, boy, I just can't stop myself today.
Who was that?
I forget what the last group was.
Who was the third set of victims?
It was the third, yeah, and I don't remember the exact... oh, boy. I forget. But, yeah, I was in a mood last week, and it felt good. I mentioned it. I think it all stems from...
So you're still not backing down.
No, okay, come on. Listen, Boy Scouts, dumb, idiotic, stupid handkerchief off your neck.
Neckerchief.
Sorry. Can I apologize? Motorcyclist, vroom vroom in your driveway before you tear out of town in your subdivision. Real cool middle-aged dad trying to grow up. And once I remember what that third group is, I got another something for you coming in a little bit.
You can only say that while you're shaking your fist in the air. I got another one of these coming for you.
But yeah, Steve, I was obviously... I was hyped up from my gripe of the week last week, which I texted you this week, and I apologize to you. Because as I'm not on Twitter anymore, I apologize to you for having to put out all the flames that inevitably, that I no doubt started on the internet.
Yeah, all those flames.
With all of all the hot takes I was unleashing last week.
Because the way it works now is when you have a hot take, you typically text me saying... hot take incoming.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know. Now, normally you would have tweeted that. I usually don't tweet the
hot take incoming.
Yeah, I don't. I just like to drop it. Yeah. Even though it's your hot take, I just I don't want people, I don't want the rumor mill starting to churn.
Sure.
I just want them, bam, to be hit in the face with it.
Well, listen, Steve, in this example, you're essentially the court stenographer. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm literally passing it on to you. You're just click-clacking away on your weird keyboard
typewriter
thing.
Machine.
Yeah, that's way too small for human hands.
Right.
And you're punching it up. Why do they do that? Why isn't it
somehow
just a computer or a regular-sized keyboard?
Well, why isn't it just like AI at this point? Because we can upload a video to YouTube and it will give closed captions.
It's kind of ridiculous that we're still at this point where they need to find somebody who can type. What do you think the minimum for a court stenographer is, Steve? Do you have to type? I would guess the baseline. The baseline to do that job is 100 words per minute on average.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty reasonable.
Because a lot of office
by the way,
jobs,
they can make pretty good money.
Really?
According to ZipRecruiter, they're making anywhere. Now this is a really wide range here. Anywhere from $41,000 a year, which I think pretty good, up to $240,000 a year.
Those are the people.
Those are the VIPs. Like those are if you're if you're a lawyer. Like, can you request like, oh, I need Tom Smith. He's a hell of a stenographer.
Man,
the guy never gets a word wrong.
I need my guy. Like Steve, I have an answer for you. You need to become a stenographer. Mm-hmm. You need to pass the United States Registered Professional Reporter test.
That sounds. The stenographer sounds like a job that you would put up there with End of the Driveway Warriors.
I can tell you, I'm grinning ear to ear because I'm thinking about taking this test.
Can you just take it blind?
I don't know, because is
it like the bar? Can you just like walk in one day and be like, hey, can I take it?
Here's what's going to happen now. We're going to find even a dummy of this. And at some point in the next week, Steve, you and I are each going to sit down and take it.
We're going to take it.
And we're going to compare our results because you and I aren't typing out essays for our jobs, but you're on your computer. We both use our computers. Constantly. We both went to college. I used my computer. Like
I'm a heck of a typer.
I'm a good typer. I got to tell you, I'm pretty proud of my typing. So in order to pass the U.S. RPR, that's the United States Registered Professional Reporter test.
Of course.
A trained court reporter or closed captioner must write SPIs. Now, what was your official guess, Steve?
I think you said 100 words per minute.
I figured 100 was the baseline, yeah.
I bet it's more than that. I bet it's 120.
Approximately 180,
Whoa,
200, and 225 words per minute at very high accuracy in the categories of literary, jury charge, and testimony, respectively.
Wait,
so in testimony,
just very high accuracy, I would expect like 100% accuracy.
Well, but I feel like when you're going back, like, you know, hey, can you read back this exchange? Like if there's, you know, you're doing the word, what is it? You know, able, and it says, you know, AVLE. I feel like they're all going to be okay.
Sure.
But I also feel like...
Do you think they go back and, like, after the day in court, do they go back and edit their notes? Do they go back and look at it and say, I think I got that one wrong.
You think they got a peer-reviewed session after the fact? You know, maybe they look back or they look back.
It's like submitting a thesis.
Yeah. And so in testimony, which in my mind, would be the hardest one to transcribe, right? Because that's happening the fastest. Question, answer, question,
you want
answer.
the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Yep. And then, you know, she's typing out, you know, Tom Cruise. and then what he says.
Right. Do you think there has to be... like symbol. I'm assuming that keyboard is like a form of shorthand, right? Like what is there, like 6 keys maybe?
So you just think there's like 4 letters and 2 numbers?
Yeah. Well, there's a button for plaintiff, a button for defendant, a button for both of their lawyers.
So how do you think it works?
And then a button for judge, and then there's just one leftover button that they just...
In my mind, like their left hand would be for who's talking, right? So they press top one.
We got to get one on. We need to get a court stenographer.
If anybody knows, now granted, I have no idea our technical setup right now, if that's even possible.
We could make it work.
What
if a stenographer presents themselves to us?
We'll make it work.
We will move the sun and the moon.
Yeah, I've got literally. I could, right off the top of my head, 100 questions for a court stenographer. Okay? This has now jumped to the top of my want list in terms of who I want to talk to. So if anybody out there that couldn't have happened.
There's no way that we have a court stenographer listening.
No. I mean,
no chance.
We need everybody open your Rolodexes.
And look, if we do have a court stenographer listening next week, a bit.
Oh, that's the A and B bit. And then we're closing with Kenny Rogers and we're getting the hell out of here.
Speaking of Kenny Rogers, it is your week, right?
It is my week for Steve. The Kenny Rogers factoid of the week, as we talked about, provides a sense of calming in these uncertain times. Yes, I have another fact about the legendary country crooner himself.
Is he a crooner? I always consider crooners, like the clean cut,
okay,
like a Buddy Holly type.
You know, I guess I never looked at it or thought about it as appearance. Let me Google it because
he's like Kenny Rogers. He's got the feathered hair.
God, he's a gorgeous.
And like he wore the country garb, flannel shirts and stuff. Maybe I don't know. I have no basis for knowing what Kenny Rogers would wear.
He looks like a flannel guy. Right, he's like a red flannel guy at home, and I
like those shirts that have like the pockets with the fancy designs on the front.
No question,
like the embroidered pocket shirts.
I think if Kenny Rogers is wearing flannel around the house or plaid around the house, he's rolling up the sleeves, but not past the elbow. He's doing like the 3/4 length.
Oh yeah,
that's Kenny Rogers, and he's got a watch on too. Kenny Rogers is a watch wearer.
Yeah, definitely.
So if I just Google Kenny Rogers crooner, Steve, the first.
Oh, of course, I'm thinking of the infamous video for The Gambler where he's got the vest.
The legendary appearance of Kenny Rogers. The first obituary I find, Steve, country music crooner Kenny Rogers passes. The next one from the Washington Post is titled Kenny Rogers, pop country singer of The Gambler. But then in the text says Kenny Rogers, a grizzled, raspy voice country pop crooner.
Huh.
So there's only one way
Wapo says he is a crooner. The other one said he was a... I would have never thought he was a crooner. I would have never considered him to be a crooner. I'm not taking it away from him.
Right.
You know, everybody of course has their own opinion on this.
Right. And listen, there's only one way to solve this, and that's the way we do it on this podcast, Steve. We'll post that to the poll. Actually, you know what? I've got two questions.
What do you got?
I've got, was Kenny Rogers a crooner?
Okay.
And obviously, is Kenny Rogers a crooner? Because I refuse to believe and accept a world that Kenny Rogers is not crooning.
He's dead. So you're a Kenny Rogers death truther?
Whoa. I mean, listen. I'm just saying. There's some serenading going on in heaven or earth, because he might still be alive, right now.
You're buying into this then. I'm
just saying.
Kenny Rogers, A, is still alive.
Yeah, I think
and B is a crooner.
I think it's worth talking about.
Okay.
That somewhere right now, maybe next to Tupac, maybe next to Steve Jobs in
Elvis.
What was that video, Uruguay or wherever, that there's a guy getting his picture taken in front of the street, and behind him in a wheelchair was
Tupac.
It was like Steve Jobs has one like that.
Oh, that's
too.
right.
Like in a wheelchair, like, wait a minute, that's definitely Steve Jobs.
He's got the black turtleneck on. He's got his iPhone out and the little sign pointing to it that says, I invented this.
So that'll be on the poll. Both of those. Was Kenny Rogers a crooner? And is Kenny Rogers a crooner? You can find those at Steve and Kyle on Facebook and Twitter.
Now, speaking of polls, I just sent you some screenshots of poll results from last week, so that way we can get them all added up. I have a question. Did you say last week, you said we are closing in on the number of people that we need to follow us on Instagram? Like, we're real close to being able to post polls?
Oh, that was a joke.
Okay, because I thought, because you said it very seriously, and after we recorded, I went back and looked at it. And I thought that you said we are close to the 10,000 that we need, and I looked at it, we're at like 200. Instagram.
I
thought surely he misspoke, or it was said jokingly, and I just didn't get the joke.
Yeah, obviously, our Instagram presence, not something that people are
jumping on board with,
raving about. And again, for us, it's hard as an audio medium. There's not a ton of our regular content that goes on there.
I think I'll post a picture of our current setup. By the way, it is Sunday, May 10th, 2020, the year of our Lord, the year of our Lord. If you're wondering why I said that twice, apparently I did not say the year of our Lord last week.
Whoa.
Somebody pointed out on Twitter, so there you go. There's a make good for last week. We apologize for the inconvenience.
Yeah, that's why I left that.
The Steve and Kyle podcast. Recording this week from yet another, let's count how many setups. We had the original APS 1.0.
1.0, yep.
Then we moved down to the basement, which was 2.0.
The Mecca.
Then we moved to the basement here.
3.0.
3.0.
Yeah.
Then we did Deckcast last week.
Yep. 4.
And now...
that would be 3. So last week, are we calling that 3.3?
Maybe 3.1.
3.1. So Deckcast. Yeah. So the deck is 3.1. And now today, Steve, we enter another room in your home.
Sunroom Cast.
This is Sunroom Cast.
This is 3.2.
A little used room, admittedly, right?
We never use it.
You guys never come in here?
Never.
Nice room. Nice
It's very
spot.
nice. Honestly, I like it. I like it a lot out here. And I remember when we bought the house thinking, oh, that's going to be my spot. That's going to be my afternoon spot to go out there like in the spring and summer and do my work. Maybe take a nap on the comfortable couch. You're sitting on a couch on one end of the room.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in a chair on the opposite side of the room. Dare I say, even more socially distanced than we were last week.
No question we're further apart than we were last week.
I don't have my tape measure, but I would estimate, I think we're 11 feet.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean... you know what? I'd call it 10, but who's here to nitpick?
Sure.
It's we are still properly following guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
We did the remote thing for a while as a lot of people listened.
Mm-hmm.
It was fine.
But again, worth noting, we are still socially distanced.
Yep.
You walked in. I was already sitting down on my end of the room.
Yep.
You sat down on your end of the room. There has been zero contact made whatsoever.
Yep.
At the end of the episode, you will pack up your equipment. I'll pack up mine. I won't touch it for the next week.
Yep. APS 3.2, Steve.
3.2.
3.2 as we inch ever closer to APS 4.0 coming 2020 never.
Pardon me. I just have to take a sip over here. It is, after all, as the mug says, it's tea o'clock somewhere.
That it is, Steve. It's tea o'clock somewhere. That is that is not part of the merch collection that we have on at steveandkyle.com/merch. Did you just burn yourself with tea?
Quite the opposite. Apparently somebody forgot to start the teapot.
Is that cold tea then?
It's ice cold.
So is cold tea gross?
No, I mean it tastes like iced tea basically.
Okay.
But when you're expecting nice piping hot tea. Now I wondered because I reached over to grab the mug and I was like, man, this mug must be high quality, super insulated because it's not even warm on the outside.
Sure.
And then as I was dunking my tea bag to try and, make it nice and like get those get the tea leaves to
you got to aspirate the
thing.
tea leaves from everything I understand about tea people.
Took a sip and boy was that terrible. Not good.
Now, Steve, you heard it in the intro, and I need an update. I was making a push for you to keep the scoot as of 1 week ago.
Yeah.
In this podcast. When I was leaving here, though, that was mentioned in passing to Annette, who did not receive that news very well.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
It was not a positively received idea, Steve, that you would keep the scoot and utilize it more often. So where are we at today, more than 1 week later, with an update on the scoot? Is it here? Is it going to stay here? Or is it gone forever?
What do you think? What do you think is what's your gut tell you?
Well, my gut tells me it is still here because you're terrible at auto sales.
That's rather insulting.
But listen, it's not meant to be insulting. I'm literally going off
no, not at all.
I'm going off of the only evidence I have, which is 1+ calendar years of waiting to sell a Jeep. So you guys, and Chris Sy, Nolan Ryan Young, each pocketed north of like $65 a piece.
After a little bit more than that, but that's,
you guys went out for a nice dinner to celebrate, and the profits were gone.
Went to IHOP, and that was it.
So I think it's still here, and I think deep down you're still pining to keep it. So where are we today, Steve, with this? Because we're entering. It's darn near prime scoot season.
Prime scoot season.
We've got the Memorial Day holiday coming up. Mm-hmm. When everybody busts out the scoots.
From sea to shining sea.
Everybody knows
this nation's highways and byways are overrun with motors that do not exceed 50 cc's. Because if they did, they would be classified as a motorcycle.
And they all come out in their mini vroom vroom roars around the Memorial Day holiday, Steve. As you well know, as you've taken part in many a scoot rides up and down the coast here of this beautiful state, all 86 miles worth.
Got my scarf, got my little goggles.
So where are we at, Steve, with the scoot?
Well, Kyle.
Oh, no. This better be a positive.
What have I told you? That the scooter was the true measure of freedom for the American man. What have I told you? That feeling the wind in your hair, or what's left of it, is the true measure of a man.
That 49 cc's can't contain the soul of one middle-aged man with a child.
What have I told you? That unfortunately, scoot season had ended.
Oh, no!
What have I told you that yesterday, a man with 2 lip piercings bought that scooter? The Steve and Kyle podcast proudly presents No More Scooter?
Oh, no!
It's gone.
Did he walk over here and tear out of town on it?
He got a ride over here. And then he pulled out a fat stack of cash, handed it to me, and he was on his way.
Oh.
Yeah.
That is legitimately sad to me. I was looking forward to a season of Steve Scoots.
The new side podcast.
The new sidecast where Steve would, again, scoot up and down the coast here and maybe talk about, kind of like the crappier version of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives.
Steve Scoots.
Steve Scoots. And you can only go as far as the scoot tank will take you.
Look, man, that thing gets 100 miles per gallon. I put gas in it for the first time since owning it last week.
Oh, right before he sold it. That was nice of you. Phil, top it off for the...
Put $2.48 worth of unleaded in there.
Topped it off for the lip piercing man. So was it at all after we left? Because... Again, maybe we were caught up in the fervor. Again, when I showed up last week, you had it out in the driveway.
Yeah.
You turned it on, and you felt the rumble under your legs.
Oh,
and, you're popping some wheelies and leaving a patch in the driveway, some rubber. Was it just that fleeting moment, Steve, or at any point during the week? Because obviously you had it posted for sale then. Well, any point during the week did you have that thought of, I still want to keep it?
No, maybe a little bit, but it was posted probably by the time you got home yesterday or last week.
Oh, wow.
Leaving. Yeah, it was pretty quick. I posted it, and man, another hot commodity apparently.
So you're getting a lot of
on Facebook Marketplace. Got a lot of messages, but a lot of messages from people who it just seemed like they were spam accounts because they'd have names like L.R. Cornopole or something like that.
So super legitimate human people.
Yeah, definite human people.
So you were sifting through those until you finally found your knight in shining armor with multiple lip piercings who was willing to take... Now, listen, did the Jersey Steve come out? Are you a haggling man? Did he knock you down a little bit?
He shot me an offer that was a little bit low. I countered right in the middle. I was very happy with. I got 90% of my asking price.
Oh wow! So you got yourself a fat wad of dough.
Yeah.
What's the next adventure then? Because I know you're already moving on. You've got cash in your pocket, and you've got a house, and you've got a house that's fine. So I know you've got a big project in mind that or is that money going towards the deck? What's the
it's
update?
deck? It's deck money.
That's deck money.
It is that one transaction yesterday has funded the composite decking because that was the dream. The dream was composite. The dream is now a reality.
So you've paid for the materials. Now you
haven't actually bought it,
right? But you I'm sorry. Yeah, you have the finances for the materials on hand. Now you just need the labor and other supplies and the know-how to build a deck.
Yeah.
I mean, the way it looks, it sounds like you're like 75% of the way there.
Basically. I mean, it'll probably be built by the time you're here next week.
I mean, I can't wait to have deck cast in that composite deck next week. So not have to worry about it.
But as usual, this was not without incident trying to sell this. I had 1 million people asking me about it. But there was a front runner earlier in the week.
Oh, wow. So this thing was like one of those games at the carnival where you're shooting the water into the hippo's mouth and the little plastic guys going up the meter to pop the balloon.
Yep. First, it was a man or woman named Zajanis. And let me answer your question. Yes, of course, it's just Janice with a Z at the beginning.
Okay, I'm not going to put that in the poll because that's rude, but I have so many questions about how people would classify that name without seeing the person themselves. Would you classify that as a man or a woman? Because I don't know. I couldn't guess. I wouldn't have a guess.
I still don't know because the picture, like the avatar picture, is a man, a woman, and a child.
Oh, I thought you were going to say like a cartoon cat.
Zajanis was the early front runner, just edging out Uziel. And
so you had some super legitimate offers.
And of course, HG.
Oh, just H.G?
Just HG, yep. And then there...
Maybe related to C.G. Johnson.
But then a man named Prince jumped above everybody else.
Whoa, so Prince, I mean, not the symbol.
No.
Not the dead R&B crooner.
No.
Still crooning away.
He jumped ahead.
Okay.
And he said...
So again, quickly, recap the three names that are in this horse race. Zajanis, Zael, what was
Uziel.
Uziel, and Prince.
So Zajanis quickly faded away.
Zajanis Zajanis didn't even make it to the home stretch.
No. Uziel was a bunch of questions, but never actually plans to come and see the thing or make an offer.
Were the questions legitimate, at least, like about the motor, about what you've done to it, or was it like, does it have both tires?
They were typical for Facebook Marketplace, where in the title of the ad, it says 2018 Tao 50cc Racer, because that's the model number.
Yep.
What size is the engine? It's 50cc. One guy said, so is that a 600cc? Said, no, as the ad states, it's a 50cc. Like 600cc is a full-on motorcycle.
Yeah.
I was like, just so you know, this is a 50cc moped. This is not a motorcycle.
So this was Uziel.
Yeah. So
Uziel thought he was going to get a super, super cheap, full-on motorcycle.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they faded away. I was getting random messages here and there, but Prince was.
So Prince is staying in the picture.
Prince is he's leading the pack.
The old thoroughbred.
And it was, I think, on Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah.
Prince said, "All right, I'm out of work at 3:00. I want to meet up to buy it. Like, this wasn't I want to come and check it out." Yeah. He said, "I got cash in hand. I want to come and buy it." And I was like, "Cool."
Did you see a picture of this Prince? Prince is obviously, listen, I'm not trying to judge, but when you see a name on Facebook, especially after getting messages from Zajanis and Uziel, you see Prince, and immediately my eyes roll a little bit because I'm assuming it's another fake person. Did you look at the profile? What was your takeaway?
Typical, just guy.
Okay.
I mean, picture of him with friends.
Parents just maybe named him Prince, or he likes to go by Prince.
Picture of him with, family, holding a baby. Nothing, like, I looked at it, I was like, that seems like a normal thing. It seems like a normal person to me.
Right.
Because I always look at the profile, and if there's, like, the one picture, and then I see that they've been a member of Facebook since 2020, I'm like,
bad sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Prince and I have plans to meet at 3:00 at the at my bank.
Because you don't want the people here.
Don't want them here.
You don't. You never know when you got a rabid fan of the podcast.
Right.
Who's just looking to see where the studio is and get a tour.
And in my added paranoid state, I'm also now convinced that I will be getting paid with counterfeit money. So
you got a highlighter or a yellow marker?
No, but my plan is have him meet me at the bank. I take the money, deposit it immediately, and then give him the key after I confirm that the money is real, which I know it's stupid.
Hey, you're doing what you need to do to protect yourself.
If it's a $20 Jeep part and I find out that I got ripped off, oh well, no big deal.
It's a bummer, but...
So this is significantly more than that. Our plans are to meet at the bank at 3:00. The bank is about 6 miles from here. So I'm scooting there. This is the I'm riding off into the Scoot sunset.
What's your plan to get home at that point?
Annette followed me.
Okay.
Like she left.
So
I
she's
left
doing
like
circles nearby just to make sure you don't get mugged.
Well, she pulled right in to the bank parking lot a minute after I got there. So now that was the first time I had scooted since last summer. So I was like, all right, I'm a little cautious, but once I got a mile or two in, I was great.
Let her rip all the way up to 53?
All the way up to 53. So, no, what are you, crazy? I didn't go over 40.
Sorry, they were side roads. You obviously weren't speeding and driving recklessly with this hog underneath you.
So I pull into the parking lot, 2:58. I'm 2 minutes early. Great.
Punctual.
Yeah. It's so it gets to be 3:05. No Prince yet.
Oh boy.
3:10.
Okay.
No Prince yet.
Now let me ask you: if this was a $20 Jeep part, you're setting in time for 3 p.m. How long do you wait
for a $20 Jeep part?
Yep.
First of all, I'm not driving anywhere to meet somebody.
It's either getting mailed to you or you're meeting here.
Exactly. You want to pay me to ship it, no problem. But yeah, you're coming here to pick it up.
Okay.
I'm not driving 20 minutes to make $20. It just it's not worth it to me. So
I'm just curious because obviously this is a bigger item, right? Mm-hmm. So you even though you might roll your eyes and get a little frustrated, you're going to have a little leeway because it's a bigger item that you're selling.
Sure. And look, things happen. I know he was supposedly coming from half hour away or so. Okay. So whatever. Maybe there's an accident on the highway. Right. So 3:05, 3:10, 3:15 comes and goes.
Yep.
And I sent him a message. I was like, hey, man, gave him the location again. I was like, you're at the bank or you're coming to the bank on this street and this street, right?
Yeah.
No reply. So
did you see that he read? Because it usually pops up like if they've read it.
Yeah.
Their face. Yeah,
it shows that he read it, and then a minute later he responds, "Call me." Gives his phone number.
Oh boy, Prince.
So at this point, I've been here we're nearly 20 minutes after the meeting time. Yeah. I reply. I said, "Nope, I'm out of here. Sorry, you had your chance."
Yep. I don't blame you, Steve, because you're likely to get a story or a lowball offer or a sob story about how something had happened and now he doesn't have the money or can you do this instead?
Yeah.
Not worth it. You said you had a lineup of offers. You just go back to Uziel or Zajanis and drive the price up.
Well, at this point, Uziel and Zajanis had fallen off.
You draw them back into the table, Steve. Neither here nor there.
So I'm obviously disappointed. I'm pissed at this point. Yeah. So, because I was just sitting in Annette's car with the scooter parked in the next parking spot, and I had said to Annette, I was like, something feels weird about this, and I get the feeling that this is not going to happen.
Like Before we'd even left,
there was just something about it that was like, I don't know. Like, I've done enough of this where something felt off.
Yeah.
I should have followed my instincts because he didn't show up. So sent him a text. I said, I'm out of here, man. See ya. And he sends me what do you mean? What? What's going on? So I pulled out. I drove home.
Yeah.
Got home, parked it in the garage, pulled out my phone again, and I just said, thanks for wasting my time, a-hole.
Oh, there it is!
Yeah.
Yes! Oh, man. Like, it's the gripe of the week, and then it's like Jersey Steve coming out, and it makes my fingers tingle. I love it because I don't get to hear about it enough. So to be, because it almost feels like I'm vindicated there, too. I love hearing that because I don't know where Evelyn was, but even still, if Annette had to pack up Evelyn in the car.
She did, yeah.
It's a headache.
Yeah.
It is not, I mean, we have a lot of people listening to this who are obviously parents and have children. Everything is multiple times more difficult when you have that baby.
Well, especially at her age, because it's not like I have a 13-year-old kid and I say, hey, hop in the car, we gotta go somewhere.
Right. Like, hey, just go, buckle in the back seat. You have to
get her in her jacket, put her little hat on, buckle her in the thing, put a blanket on her, this, that, the other. So, thanks for wasting my time, a-hole. Whoa, well, that awoke Prince.
Oh, no. Like, awoke the anger in Prince?
It did.
Oh, boy.
Because suddenly I had a flurry of messages. You don't know who you're talking to. Don't disrespect me like that. You don't disrespect me by calling me an a-hole. And I said something like, oh, that's funny. Now all of a sudden you're worried about respect. What about when you didn't show up to a meeting that we had set?
Yeah.
Like, that respect works both ways.
I think you're 100% justified in even the initial message, and knowing you a little bit, seeing that flurry of messages from him, maybe in your anger you're still upset, you're obviously mad. I have a feeling you felt a pang of regret for even replying to him.
I did, yeah.
And I'm here to tell you, level-headed Kyle's here to tell you you were in the right.
Good, okay. I feel better now.
I am mild-mannered and on the straight and right on the level, and I think you acted fine.
So, fired off that message. He replies, don't disrespect me, blah, blah, blah. Then he gives me some tale about, I was supposed to borrow my friend's trailer, but that fell through. And I'm like, I replied, I was like, I get that. If that's the case, if that actually did happen, look, S happens.
Say so. If you're coming from a half hour away, you know that point.
Right.
You know that detail well before 2:30 when you're even supposed to be leaving to head to this meeting.
Yeah. So I said, if that was the case, you could have just told me. I would have appreciated you telling me so I didn't waste my time, waste my wife's time, having to drive halfway across town to meet you.
Yep.
So, yeah, it went back and forth about how I'm disrespectful and everything.
Wow. I mean,
man, it's crazy how you can be so narrow-minded that you can throw out the you're being disrespectful and not realizing that this is all a result of you being disrespectful.
That
we're having this conversation.
That's actually unbelievable because, I mean, well, I shouldn't say that. You're talking to a man named Prince on Facebook, which is the newer version of Craigslist, which is known for being shady and weird. But so obviously that all ended. You guys made up.
Prince and I have not spoken since. And at that point, the first thing I did, I took the ad down off of Marketplace.
Looks like it's been up there for a few days. You got some comments.
Been up there
it.
for probably 3 or 4 days. I was just so tired of getting these messages that never went anywhere, or the people clicking. Because by default, the default message that you send just says, "Is this available?"
Right.
For something on Facebook Marketplace. So I must have had 50 "Is this available?" messages, to which I reply to all of them, "Yes, it is," and then nothing. So are you just wondering? Are you just thinking like, I wonder if that guy ever sold that? I don't want it, but...
Yeah, I'm just curious what those go for. I don't really care about having it.
So usually I reply, "Yes, it is." And then if I don't get a reply within a couple hours, I reply again saying, "Is that the only question you had for me?"
Yeah.
Or are you interested? Or no, yes?
Yep.
Because there's no reason to ask me if it's available unless there's a small part of you that
was interested.
Wants it.
Yeah. And that's what I'll wait a while when that happens and then send the follow-up of, were you interested?
Yeah.
Before I start getting like frustrated.
Yeah.
Right?
So the ad came down. It didn't just get deactivated. It got deleted altogether. I was done with it. Now, it was still posted on Craigslist, the old underdog. And I would get a message every now and then from Craigslist. And there was one guy who seemed very interested, but we couldn't come to an agreement on... He wanted to test ride it, which if you go to a motorcycle dealership or like a power sports dealership, typically they don't let you test ride a motorcycle or a scooter or a moped because they're much easier to crash than, say, a car.
Right.
And so you can sit on it, you can start it up, you can rev the engine, but maybe they'll let you go around the parking lot. But they're not going to let you take it out on the open road.
Well, and also for a private sale, it's you. I mean, the most you can do is say, can I have your license?
Right.
But there's still a chance that he just tears out of the parking lot and you're never going to see the scoot again.
Sure. So I had said to him, initially I said, no, sorry, man, you can't do that. And he's like, well, it's too big of a purchase to not test drive. And I get that. I was like, look, man, I totally understand. No problem. I can assure you that it runs perfectly fine and that it, functions perfectly.
Maybe, you should have sent him. I think we got a video from 2 summers ago.
Of you?
No, there's one of you, too. I think there's a riding video of you 2 years ago.
Is there
really?
really?
Should have just sent him that we set to music. I'd have to check, but I think there is. But, boy, that would have been a nice promotion.
So we couldn't come to an agreement. I finally replied to him like a day later. I was like, when we meet up, if you give me the money, I will let you test ride it under the, under the notion that it is you break it, you buy it. And then he finally, we had come to an agreement, but in the meantime, 2 Lip Ring man had gotten in touch with me.
Oh, so this was not Double Lip Ring guy?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Wow. I just my apologies.
Nope.
I thought it was the same person.
And the thing is, Double Lip Ring guy isn't even the guy that got in touch with me. It was this other guy that got in touch with me, and he said, I want that. And I said, all right, well, I got a bunch of interest on it. And he's like, I'll send my brother-in-law with cash to come and buy it now.
Double Lip Ring guy.
Yeah. And he said, to be clear, he's not coming to check it out. He's coming to purchase it and leave with it. So I said, okay. And then an hour later, this dude showed up. His wife drove him over. He handed me a stack of cash, signed the bill of sale. He started it up, because he apparently he's a scoot aficionado. Started it up, and he was like, all right, see ya. Took off. They pulled out of the driveway, and the scoot's out of my life forever.
Man.
Yeah.
So did you ever hear back from I don't want to call him haggling guy, but the guy who wanted to test drive? Did you ever hear back? Was he disappointed or
no? He was totally cool, and I was completely honest with him. He had emailed me earlier in the day yesterday, and said, "Can we do 1:30?" And I was like, "Hey, just so you know, I got somebody else coming over to look at it right around that time. So if it's still available, then yeah. But if not, no." What do we got here? Oh, is that?
Oh boy!
Is that a brand new cup of
piping hot
tea?
Oh, look at that! That looks.
Thank you, darling.
Looks like
Happy Mother's Day once again.
Piss in a glass, Steve.
Boy, that's
what that
rude.
looks like is urine.
My wife on Mother's Day just slaved over a hot teapot to make this for me, and you're going to call it piss in a glass.
Horrific. Might as well have water with yellow food coloring and crappy flavor.
Oh boy, this mug definitely feels a lot more like
a little more warm,
like a mug with tea should feel.
Well, Steve, in another update to a Facebook sale, we talked extensively last week about my interactions with a man named Joe, who I was buying some lattice from.
Sure, the infamous
World War II presumed veteran, Jim Crow era living.
World War II. Okay, so he's pushing 100.
He was 83.
Okay. Yeah, probably a little young for World War II.
72. Yeah, he would have been 11. I mean, you never know. Kids were sneaking in and out.
That's true. Yeah.
World War II, Vietnam, Korea vet Joe.
I bet. Yeah, Korea is probably
Jim Crow era Joe. We talked extensively about his knowledge of the Slipknot.
Right. Slipknot Joe.
which is what all his buddies called him.
Slipknot Joe, the lattice man.
Back in the stepped all over his knee.
It's all right. It's out there.
Slipknot Joe, the lattice man. I bought
right up there with right up there in the Hall of Fame with Wreck.
Yep.
And Prince.
Yep. Wreck and Prince, and now Slipknot Joe. We completed the lattice project after this very podcast 1 week ago.
Come out good? You happy with it?
No.
Okay.
It came out like one of my projects, which means it's fine. But to recap my projects,
would it be like is it like a Pinterest fail, like where you see the picture of how it should look,
right,
and then you see the picture of how yours looks?
No, it's not.
It's like it's cut all sideways, and there's like paint splattered on it.
It's not that bad, but it's vinyl lattice that had been kind of stored a little funky, so it was a little bit wavy.
Yeah.
So it's not flat and flush, and plus where I was putting it was on a slope of my hill underneath a portion of the deck. So the cuts, it didn't allow it to like straighten out. I didn't have enough points.
Can we post pictures of it?
Yeah, I have some. I can post some of those.
Yeah.
And
Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram will post them and say, is this Kyle's Pinterest fail?
Oh, man, I don't need that. They're not getting posted. I don't need people saying that. Because it is fine. Like,
okay, then we'll post it and we'll say, hey, only positive comments allowed.
Yeah, leave the negativity at home. Completed that, and it was my dad was helping me. We had completed it with a lot to spare. When I described what I got from Joe, Slipknot Joe,
the lattice man,
I got a lot of stuff I didn't need. Almost all of it went into a dumpster. That's no joke.
Didn't he also give you like an old tea kettle, a World War II era model submarine?
Yep. There's all of these things thrown in. I got his trinket bag because his grandkids stopped talking to him decades ago. And so I completed it with a full sheet of this lattice remaining.
Okay.
And I actually heard this while I was talking about it. When I was listening back to the podcast yesterday, putting together the intro, I had mentioned that I may get rid of that extra piece of lattice. And boy, did I.
Did you give it back to Joe?
Was
you
outside,
drive by and wing it out there?
Whip it into his lawn, along with all the lumber he threw in. So, was outside playing with Reed. It was Tuesday or Wednesday this week. And there was that piece of lattice just laying flat in the yard. So, while we're playing, he's on his little play set. Snap one picture of this piece of lattice. I go to Facebook Marketplace. I say, brown lattice, 4x8, one sheet. What you see is what you get. That's it.
I like it. You go free or you put a dollar amount on there?
Within 3 minutes, Steve, I had like 4 messages.
Oh, boy. It's a hot commodity.
Like,
lattice, I mean, look, it's lattice season.
It's lattice season. It's scoot season. It's the time for the lattice. These things go for like $25 brand new. So I can see why people, like, if they have a small project, especially kind of like mine, why people would want this. Within 3 minutes, I had replied to the first person. They said, is it still available? I said, yes, it is. I said, okay, the address? I said, what time are you thinking? 10 minutes?
Oh, boy, this is the holy grail on Facebook Marketplace.
And I go, I'll whip it into the front yard. Come on by. And Reed and I are still out back when I hear a vehicle. I didn't even see the vehicle. Lumber on by, stop for a few seconds, and it was gone. And a few minutes later, I walked out front, saw the lawn was empty, walked to my mailbox, and took the $10 that I initially paid Joe for everything.
Yep.
And took it back out of my mailbox.
Look at that.
For a full break-even D.I. Kyle.
Not even break. You came out ahead because you utilized what you got.
That's true.
You sold the scraps.
Sold the scraps for I'm in the black. D.I. Kyle.
Dick Kyle.
Nope.
Dick Kyle comes through again with another Dick Kyle project.
I mean, I couldn't be more proud of it was this big pat on my own back for this whole thing.
One second. It's 10 o'clock over here. Yeah. Ooh, much warmer than the last glass. The last cup. This is not in my it's tea o'clock somewhere mug though. Do you like the glass mugs?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I don't like to see it.
I love the glass mugs. It just I'm so much more intrigued by what's in it.
All right. Steve and Kyle on Twitter and Facebook. Are you intrigued? How should I phrase it?
Are you intrigued by the glass mug?
Are you intrigued by the glass mug? Yep, that's
I mean, if there was ever a statement that was more perfect for a poll, I don't know what it is.
It's that one. And I did want to talk quickly, Steve, because I know we're on a deadline, and I hate to say it after the rousing success of week 1. I don't know that we're going to have time to get to my gripe of the week this week. No. But we will obviously have time to get to Kenny Rogers' factoid of the week. I did want to talk about last week. You described your quarantine boredom, or was that 2 weeks ago?
I don't know. Could have been any week.
And this was Nut and Bolt Organization.
Oh, Nut and Bolt Organization, yeah.
And you described you were telling the story about
we can go out in the garage right now.
I mean,
I can show you.
Just think of the inconvenience.
I can show you. I can show you the bins.
A couple of laptops on our laps, and then we'd have to get up, and we have to figure out how to pause this whole thing. And it's all new equipment, and we don't know how to do it.
The same.
It just seems like it's raining out.
It's not.
It's like I think I heard a thunderstorm on the way a minute ago. We should just stay here and not go look at your nuts and bolts.
By the way, I think that this is going to be the new thing. I like this room.
Yeah, I might incorporate a pair of slippers next week.
That'll be nice.
Yeah,
it is a little cold in here,
but I'm fine. My upper body's fine. My toes could use a little bit of warmth. I might go slippers.
I got to get rid of this though. This curtain thing, and I don't like the blinds.
You don't like the curtain?
I don't like the blinds either.
What's wrong with the curtain?
I don't know.
What's behind it?
Just a wall.
Okay, so that is weird. Is a curtain in front of a wall weird? Yes, that's...
Yeah. Put that
I guess I'll put that on the poll too. Now that I ask it, is a curtain in front of a solid wall weird? I mean, I don't know what you... Do they just... Maybe pull it back, pull it up a little. Is the paint weird? Is it?
The paint doesn't look great.
So that must be why they either maybe got.
But I mean, it's like
it's
like an 8x10 wall. It would have, if they really wanted to, it would have taken maybe 45 minutes to roll paint on and clean everything up. But yeah, I'm starting to look at this room in a whole new light. I think I like it.
Deck money might be sunroom money.
Oh boy! Well, I mean, I could incorporate everything. I could run some composite decking in here. Oh, that'd be nice.
I apologize because this is a total pivot, and I wanted to talk about what I was doing this week during my downtime in this quarantine.
Okay.
But I need to make a total pivot.
All right.
As I posted this poll, I was reminded of something that was brought to my attention this very week.
Oh, boy.
And it was brought to my attention by my brother, the cheetah, Robert. Okay?
Fastest man on two legs.
Swift like a gazelle.
Yeah.
My brother texted me this week. Mm-hmm. So, Steve, I hate to put you in the hot seat.
Oh, boy. Did I do something? Did I do something to anger the cheetah?
I have a question for you.
Okay.
At what point do you think the side gig's going to start paying us for our bits?
Oh, no. What did we...
Robert texted me this week, and I don't even know if I can find the exact text, but to say I was aghast would be an understatement,
I'm looking forward to hear it.
Because there is a track record of this, as we've talked about and joked about over the years, that the side gig ends up typically like 6 months later stumbling into a similar conversation we've had. The one that comes to mind is Meatloaf. There was a Meatloaf conversation well after we had our Meatloaf argument on this thing.
Sure.
And I can't find it right now, right away, but he had said that there was a tease on your radio program for coming up after the break Joe himself has a hot take.
Oh.
And I thought, you know what? That's okay. Because, listen, I didn't invent the hot take. Now, did I perfect it? Probably. A lot of people say so.
But we have the market cornered on it?
I would argue. I would argue that I really innovated the hot take game. I mean, you've got...
Is that so?
Yeah. So he calls me to tell me this. I'm sorry. He calls me in the morning. So this is 7:30 in the morning. And I've told you, Steve, I don't listen.
Right. You're not a fan of the production.
Production leaves a lot to be desired.
Sure.
So he texts me after it. And he said, set a reminder. This needs to be discussed. Okay. They ended up having people call in
with their
very own hot takes.
Yes, I do remember this now.
I mean, what does a guy got to do to get an iota of credit around
here? A little notoriety.
For the constant stolen valor that your side gig just runs amok with, Steve?
I guess I would assume that it was ignorance on the part of my cohorts.
Oh, I mean, listen. After a while, fool me once, shame on me. You.
Fool me twice, we don't get fooled again. Famous George Bush quote.
Fool me twice, you're stealing our bits. Okay? So that's where we're at now. I've made a lot of concessions to that cockamamie feces flinging debacle over there in West Michigan.
Sure.
You've talked softball. Fine. They got the billboard unveil. That's fine. Uh-huh. How dare they step on my hot take shoes? Okay, because those are special shoes, Steve. And we are inching closer to hot take summer. And they have...
Are we doing that again, by the way? Is it?
Yeah, but you're going to be in for a rough summer.
Oh, boy.
Because you're going to have to post them all.
No, I'm not doing it. You have to come back. I'm going to have to set you up with... How about this? Yeah. We set you up with a burner Twitter where you don't follow anyone. Okay. No one follows you. It's private. But I simply... you let me know, hey, I just tweeted something, and I just go in and retweet it. How about we just set... up the burner that I can just post from it, right? Yeah. So like you said, I'll post it, you retweet. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or we just have people follow this new account and it'll be called Kyle's Hot Takes. At Kyle's Hot Takes. I'm sure that's stolen or it will be. And that's where I'll post the Hot Take Summer from. Stolen by Free Beer. Yeah, oh, he's listening. Ooh, that's a good idea. Take another picture of your stupid announcing booth. So that'll be on the poll as well. Did Steve's side gig steal another bit from the podcast? Oh, boy. I mean, I'm not asking you to defend yourself, Steve. We have 8 polls this week already. There's a lot. I'm not asking you to defend yourself, Steve. I'm just at what do you think happened? Was this, you're in the room. Mm-hmm. Was it organic? Did it come up naturally? Like, hey. From what I remember, it was organic. We were talking about something. It was a topic about like certain things that people get irrationally passionate about. Boy, wonder where they could have heard that from. Sunday, May 10th, 2020, the year of our Lord, the Steve and Kyle podcast. Listen, all I'm saying coming to you from APS 3.2. We settled on 2 or 5? 3.2 or 3.5? Oh, we haven't made the jump to 3.5. We're not at 5 yet? No. We were at, outside was 1, sunroom is 2. Yeah. I just feel like, listen, because you joked about it, and this was a couple of years ago, where there was... Totally unaware, I believe you said Free Beer made a reference to, hey, we should do something called the Fast Five. The Fast Five, yeah. And you said, wait, are you being serious? I said, are you joking? Because the old podcast has been doing that for about 3 years. Yeah, that was like our launching segment with this podcast. Listen, it's on the poll. We'll let the audience decide. Once again, I'm just walking through, and what happens other than someone sweeps me out from under the legs. Okay? The momentum
all gone. Now I got to pick myself back up and begin walking all over again.
You can vote on them on Facebook and Twitter, and if we get about 9,800 more followers on Instagram, we should call it the push to 10,000.
The push to 10K on Instagram.
The big push to 10K. We'll get there by by the end of.
That's right, goals. That's right, everybody. That's the goal. The end date of. So help us meet that goal. Hashtag the push to 10K. That's at Steve and Kyle on Instagram. Deadline day coming soon.
Coming up in just a matter of.
But yes, Steve, we are up against the clock. We have a couple of things we need to get to. Let me quickly recap last week's polls. Mm-hmm. And again, those are, as we talked about and mentioned, those are at Steve and Kyle. You can check them out there. We only had a few last week, Steve. The first one, referencing your Facebook giveaways. Did Steve throw away money with his Facebook giveaways? Again, there was some camping materials, some canopies, some not tents, but like mostly canopies.
I would say more like picnic equipment. Like if you were having a picnic in the yard and you wanted the food table to be underneath a little gazebo.
Right. And so you had given all of those away. And Steve, 51% of the audience said, yes, you did throw away your money with those. And I think to a degree you would agree.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
But the convenience factor of it, you're okay with it.
It's gone. I haven't thought about it in 2 weeks.
Now, Steve, you said you were going to wait for the results on this next poll before making a decision. So should Steve sell the hot rod Scoot?
I think that I said that I need 90% to say no in order to keep it.
Yep. 69% of the audience, Steve, said no, you should not sell the hot rod Scoot.
I jumped the gun, but it was justified.
31% of people don't care about the hog under their feet. And lastly, this is from the Fast Five. If you're not listening, you should. That's released every other week on Thursday morning at 7 a.m. on this very podcast feed you found this on.
And then the opposite Thursday mornings from that is when Sports Take with Kyle.
I actually might do one.
You got a tape?
Well, I mean, listen, I tried to be young man's Kyle last night. Stayed up until after 1 a.m.
I was going to say, I saw that you sent the intro to me at 1:38 this morning.
Steve. Live sports.
What was on? Was
We're back.
Was it Korean League baseball again?
It was.
It was a UFC
pay-per-view. A loaded UFC pay-per-view card. And I had, for a 33-year-old Kyle, way too many beers. And
was it any good?
It was fantastic.
Really?
It was
no
good.
Crowd.
No crowd, only essential personnel. So corner people and refs, announcers. Mm-hmm. Just an empty arena. And the octagon and a fight card. And the fight card was loaded in terms of talent and fight caliber.
Did they pump in any crowd
Didn't
noise?
pump in anything. It was weird for about more than half the fights they did the introductions where they did the walkouts and everything, which feels wholly unnecessary for that event.
Right, because that's the showmanship part of it.
But it gives the announcers a little more time to even talk about the fight, talk about the tail of the tape, if you will. Mm-hmm. Enjoyed it. It was fantastic. And for somebody who, is a big sports fan and has obviously been missing some sports, it was nice to have something to watch, even though I paid for it, even though I don't really agree with them even running it. It still was kind of a ramshackle operation, and it came out Thursday morning that one of the fighters on the card had tested, on Friday afternoon it came out that he had tested positive for coronavirus, and two of his cornermen. So he was obviously immediately off the card. But then footage and images started coming out of that fighter physically interacting with the other fighters on the card in that hotel the day before, which leads to concern saying, well, did he, is anybody else? They say no. I don't know if we'll ever fully know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of times up to 2 weeks before you know.
Up to 1,200 tests given to people involved in this UFC card, including, again, the announcers, everybody involved in the arena, staffing, all of that. So, it was good for me, missing sports, to be able to watch some live sports and maybe throw a few dollars on it. But the last poll this week, Steve, from the Fast Five, did Wild Westerners pronounce partner as Podna?
Podna. Howdy, Podna.
And Steve?
Yes.
That came back. Hang on. Got to find the correct poll result here. Where did it go? Hang on. I apologize because... Oh, there it is. I'm sorry. There was this happens from time to time. We talk about it. A little bit of difference from Facebook and the Twitter results. Steve?
Yeah.
51% of the audience said yes.
Whoa, 51.
Wild Westerners were walking into the saloons.
Howdy, Podna.
Howdy, Podna. A victory. An absolute victory.
Absolute victory?
For me.
I don't know about that.
Big W for little Kyle.
What was the split between Facebook and Twitter?
It was pretty close. Facebook went 54% said yes on Facebook, 46% said no, and on Twitter, 52.5%
oh boy, yeah, that
said
was
no.
Very close.
Very close both ways. Thank goodness the older generation in Facebook comes through in the clutch.
Howdy, Podna.
For me. So, Steve, those are the results of the polls this week. Again, a multitude of those up for this coming week at Steve and Kyle on Facebook and Twitter.
Now, very quickly, because we are up against it here, it is time for...
Kenny Rogers. Fact of the week.
You've got to know when to hold up. Fact of the week.
Know when to fold 'em.
Good.
I believe it's your week for the Kenny Rogers Factoid of the Week. Again, we will do this every week until he is alive.
Kenny Rogers, the old country crooner, still crooning away.
Allegedly.
And again, until that beautiful head of feathered hair is back with us again, crooning for us, we will be giving you one of these every week. So, Steve, your Kenny Rogers Factoid of the Week this week. Kenny Rogers, as we all know, passed away this March at the age of 81 years old. Did you know, though, Steve, that Kenny Rogers has twin sons? Kenny Rogers had those twin sons at the age of 66.
Whoa!
They are 15 years old. And let me tell you, they are ugly as hell.
Okay. In the sights this week, Kenny Rogers' twin sons
just lost their father. That is a pot shot if there's ever been a pot shot. And I apologize. That's unneeded.
Unnecessary.
It's rude. It's
very
mean,
rude.
It's mean-spirited. But I can't get over how gross these two idiots looked.
Wow.
So, Steve, you had your first daughter at the age of 37, right?
30.
You turned 38 in a few weeks, right?
I turned 39 in a few weeks.
Oh my God, that's it. We can't even explain it off as mid 30s anymore. You wanted to say 38 was late 30s last year.
Yeah, I think 38, 39. Well, probably 37, 38, 39.
So 39 is going to be officially at 30s. But you had your first daughter at age 37. Imagine.
38?
38, sorry. Twins at that age. Let alone twins at nearly double that age.
You said
Steve.
66
years old. Kenny Rogers had twin sons with his fifth wife at the age of 66.
Oh, boy. By the way, do we have the a full produced outro for this yet?
It's time for...
That was the...
Kenny Rogers. Fact of the week.
You've got to know when to hold up. Fact of the week.
Know when to fold 'em.
Good.
All right. Yeah, it didn't sound like the intro at all.
Hang on. Can you give me one more time just you saying that was the... Because I'll say this. Definitely forgot that. Was 1 a.m. I started to dig into the Kyle's Gripe of the Week intro last night.
Oh, good.
And realized I had a few too many beers and went to bed anyway.
Okay. And make a note. It's 109.25.
Yep, gotcha. Yep.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
That was the
Perfect.
Disregard that little
I
binging message.
Probably still people coming after the hot rod scoop. I will have that ready for next week, Steve. You are on the clock.
Yeah.
For the Kenny Rogers Factoid of the Week.
All right, another one in the books. That was fun. I think we set a record this week for the amount of new polls posted. Yeah. I saw somebody already commented their favorite thing about Saturday or Sunday mornings is the random polls, the out-of-context polls that pop up.
I love it. Listen, I love it. And I never brought this to the forefront, Steve, but I was also given some notice that at one point a couple of weeks ago, there was a mid-production poll posted on your Side Gigs website as well.
Was there?
Yeah. And I didn't bring that because I'm not a complainer.
Did it get deleted?
No, I forget what it was. I'd have to go back and look. I think somebody posted that on social media a while ago. They did that. They had done that.
Wait, so something that was supposed to be posted on...
No. The radio show, you guys had done that as well.
Okay.
Meaning
I got
yet
you.
another.
Gotcha, right. Web polls are exclusive property.
Mid-production web polls seems like it's okay. My toes hurt from being stepped on nonstop for coming up on 4 full years, but that's fine.
Well, apologies are in order. So
I'll take it handwritten from the other monkeys.
I'm sure that'll happen. All right, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Steve and Kyle. Especially for the web polls, Facebook and Twitter. And just, again, 9,800 follows short on Instagram.
Hashtag push to 10K.
The big push to 10K.
Yep, Steve and I will start posting erotic shots of ourselves on the Instagram to get more followers. So.
The plan is to have 10,000 by... Right, just a couple of... away.
7 polls this week, Steve, on our social media, so be sure to find those again. Next week, my quarantine activity, Steve, that will bore you to tears.
I can't wait. We will talk about that next week. See you later.